There are 3 primary things to remember when studying the Bible. But if you stick around to the end, I have an important epiphany I would like to share with you guys to discuss deeper than in my own swirly brain thoughts.
You started without me.
It's fine, Parker. I invented this equipment. I think I can handle it.
Maybe we should abort.
Not yet.
Hold on! Dr. Octavius, are you okay?
Another setback, but we're close.
Is anyone hurt?
No, it was all my fault.
I assure you, in the next phase.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Is there somewhere else we can discuss this?
Number 1, never remove context. The idea of verses and chapters were not a part of the original writings. Taking the breaks that our modern Bibles have is not a good idea. Context is key, and breaking every other sentence into its own thing doesn't help. Number 2, learning the original translation. Yes, this would be a whole lot of work, but we need to keep in mind that translations are not one-to-one. For example, did you know that the original Hebrew of the Old Testament never mentions hell? All appearances of the word hell is actually the Hebrew word Sheol. Sheol, literally translated to grave, but can also be translated to hell in our modern day. So there is an argument for the current stance to be had. The New Testament has the same deal, but with the Greek word Gehena, G-E-H-E-N-N-A. Not 100% sure how to pronounce it. Which is a Greek idea that everyone who dies experiences, making it more akin to purgatory. This, along with other evidence, leads me to believe that the idea of infinite torture is not what is going on, and the lake of fire and brimstone is in fact the delete from the universe bin. Hence the gift of God being eternal life, not escape from eternal torture, but that's not what we're here to discuss today. Number 3, remember that the writers are human. At the end of the day, the writers of the Bible are still human. They have their own biases, they have their own beliefs, and they are still able to be wrong. It is important to know that the Bible is not what we are worshiping. It is the one it teaches about. The Bible itself can become a stumbling block to those who wish to follow him if they don't use it right. Separating the book from the man is important. While most, if not all, of its teachings are true, they are just the history of his work. He is alive today, and using the Bible as a crutch is the reason we do not see him in our day-to-day lives. We disconnect ourselves from him because we seek things the way they were, but our world changes constantly. We need to change our perspective. The Bible is just a book, an important book, but a book nonetheless. Thousands of people have experienced the love of God without the Bible. It's a handicap, not what defines him. The 2 most important parts of the Bible, the creation of the covenant with Abraham and the life and times of Jesus, are the only parts of the Bible that are in any way sacred. And this is because God deems them as such within their own pages. For the rest of the Bible, it's just people writing down their experiences with God and with the world. That's not to say they're wrong, that's just to say that they could be wrong. When it comes to the stories of the Old Testament, we are getting a retelling of events long faded. The earliest copy of the book of Genesis we have was found as a safekeeping. We know it wasn't the original writing of it, and even if it was, the writer would have been Moses, who didn't live for several centuries after the bulk of the events happened. The most likely scenario, since we are never told that God told Moses to write down the events at the beginning of the world, and to do so word for word in this way. It is much more likely that the book was written as a side project in order to preserve the history told to Moses by the proud people of Israel. Not a God-given mission, but a story written with the best intentions. Well, what's wrong with this? Nothing, if you aren't taking into account that a millennia later, the world of believers are gonna build their religion off these writings. And it's not to say that there is no truth to the book of Genesis. That is why Jesus made entirely sure that there would be multiple accounts that relay his story, so that we can explore the different lenses to get a better look at the original. So we are getting Moses's biased version of the events. events. And that's not even taking into account the probable millions of other opinions that's been filtered through. That is to say, this isn't historically accurate, just as much as our history books today aren't historically accurate. So what are we to do about it? It's not like we have a time machine to go to the actual events. Nothing! Because the details don't matter. As far as we know, the people retelling this story were not trying to manipulate it in any way. They were in fact trying to tell the story in the truest recreation they could. That's why it's important to remember that this book, it's just a book. Anyone can tell their experiences with the world. Anyone can write a book of the Bible. Jesus said, the most important is, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. The verse isn't read the Bible in order to love the Lord your God. It's just love him. You don't read the journal of your friend to get to know them, do you? No, you talk to them directly. And that, my friends, is all God has ever wanted. To spend time with us personally. Now that you understand the nature of the Bible and how to look at it in our world, you're gonna need to know how to draw lines in the sand and make boundaries to not only enjoy life, but also live in a way that pleases God. And it just so happens that I've already covered that here when I talked about how gaming and religion can live together in harmony.
All clear, ma'am.
I knew Jameson was wrong about you. You're a little weird, but you got a good heart.
Have you got somewhere to go?
I can take care of myself.
I'm sure you can, but just in case, there's a place called the Feast Center.
Seen it. I don't want charity.
They got the best wheat cakes in the city, hands down.
Mom used to make those. Haven't had any in a long time. I'll check it out. Thanks, Spider Guy.
It's Spider-Man.